For more on the Chinese president's trip, I'm joined by our Affairs Commentator Einar Tangen from Beijing. We'll talk a little bit about Mar-a-Lago in just a second, but before we get to this meeting with the U.S. president, help frame this journey to Finland for us. Why Finland and why now, do you think?
Well, quite frankly, there's always this balancing act that Beijing likes to engage in. Whenever they're going to a major power, they'll often stop at a smaller power. This is to show that China values each country, country by country. Also, it fits with Xi's narrative that he's interested in innovation. This is a country where another country that China is racking up a #1 trade status relationship with, and they're very interested in expanding that, especially given that the advances that Finland has made at Nokia and with Linux. These are two areas where Chinese companies are going to be encouraged to set up research and development facilities and continue this kind of a relationship where it's technology transfer based.
Einar, will shift from Finland to Florida now. I've heard so many different takes on this meeting at Mar-a-Lago. Some people very pessimistic. They say that Trump doesn't have his team in place, doesn't really have a China policy. In fact, his choice for ambassador to China, Terry Branstad, hasn't been confirmed yet. And he won't even be in Florida. But then I've talked to others who feel strongly this is a good idea and it's a good sign. Bring these two leaders together. They're optimistic about the meeting. Relationships matter. So give me your take on this. What's your thoughts as these leaders of the two largest economies come together there in Mar-a-Lago?
Well, substantively, I would agree with your first statement. It's not clear exactly what the trade priorities of the U.S. are under Donald Trump. But on the other hand, yes, this is an opportunity for Xi and Trump to size each other up. If there is some personal chemistry, it could go a long way. Expect something very tightly controlled from the Chinese side. They want to avoid any kind of embarrassing or awkward moments that have occurred with other leaders. And most of it will be behind closed doors. As they've said, there's not going to be a press conference per se. And I think this is really just an opportunity for the two of them to look each other in the eye and decide if they can do business.
How do you think Pyongyang is viewing this meeting? Because clearly the DPRK is going to be on the agenda, and they may have already fired the opening salvo. They shot a projectile into the EC just hours before we went on the air here.
Well, it's kind of standard procedure. North Korea does not want any kind of rapprochement between Beijing and Washington. It is not, in their sense, in their best interests. So they are going to continue to play the provocative role. But truthfully, for the U.S., I don't think the concern is that North Korea is going to attack it. It would be suicide, in essence. Really, what's on the table here is trade. And this is not going to be settled at this meeting. As I said, this is a preliminary about. They're looking each other over. Things are going to go. One interesting aspect is that the Commerce Department quietly a few days ago started looking at most favored nation status. Now, China has already filed a court case and demanding that they be allowed in under the WTO terms. The question is, what does this represent? No one exactly knows. This is the charm of Trump. He gives you a lot to guess with. But hopefully this will be a quiet and controlled event where both sides can claim victory.
There's been a lot of this talk. There's fears about a trade war. This goes back to the campaign days when he was talking about these excessive tariffs. Do you think that those concerns are overblown? Is bringing the two together, is that a way to kind of find some middle ground?
Well, absolutely. No one wants a trade war, least of all the United States. This is not going to work well. They're already experiencing problems with Mexico, who is moving away from them. Things are ambivalent with Canada. It's difficult to go to war with three of your largest trading partners simultaneously. So given that, it's not so much a threat of that, but it's the political pressure. Donald Trump has suffered a series of domestic policy setbacks. He's dogged by the Russia things. He's desperate to change the narrative. Perhaps this meeting gives him the opportunity to do that.
And Einar, one final question. I spoke to somebody yesterday who says that these kinds of meetings, you know, the short sleeve or shirt sleeve diplomacy that we witnessed in Sunnylands, it's more really about the optics than it is the outcomes. Showing these leaders together, conversing kind of in a casual manner, kind of to calm the international waters. Is that how you see it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, there's no other way to frame this. No one wants a situation with what happened with Merkel, where you have very awkward body language, no handshake, this type of thing. Everyone wants a very controlled situation where everyone, as I said, can declare victory, go home, and tell everybody that things are under control.
All right, Einar Tangen joining us from Beijing. Thanks so much for your observations and analysis.